Good morning, everyone. And this is just a little break from ECP. We'll get back to it in just a second. And I really want to thank the speakers in Hyperion Research for accommodating my schedule. I think Paul Messina also got the call to Washington, so we've had to adjust a little bit of schedules. So the meat of this will come after the break when Bill Kramer and Steve Conway present. But I just wanted to introduce an activity that is really associated, and as I said, that we'll have a little bit of an introduction now, goals, methodology, and preliminary findings between Bill and Steve next, and then next steps with Bill. And unfortunately, the perspective on preliminary findings will have to be delayed. So a little bit about the motivation for supporting the study. So ECP is actually under the, as I think you all know, under this National Strategic Computing Initiative, which is essentially an all-of-government approach to increase the benefits of HPC for economic competitiveness and scientific discovery. And one of the objectives is really about engaging in public-private partnerships. And as you can see from the previous talk, those are already in place, but this is really examining them and trying to make them more effective. And so it intersects a bit with the NSF mission. And in particular, this is a little bit of a narrow view, but NSF does support within academic institutions a number of HPC activities, and these are from large to small. So the well-known ones, such as Blue Waters and Stampede and Stampede 2 at TAC and Comet at SDSC, are actually complemented by a whole range of other HPC activities. And I would say this is a very narrow view of the world because these might be MRIs, they might be supported under university themselves, they might be supported by regional or state centers, and going beyond what we know about directly, there are also the DoD centers and NASA centers that are associated, for example, with advanced manufacturing that often have HPC within the mix of experiment and are working with industry already. So it's a very rich landscape of potential engagement. And so the idea of looking at best practices and sharing that and sharing the rich number of possibilities in that light, both nationally and internationally, is really the context for this study. So there was an eager just to start things and get things going that was made by Ed Walker, one of the program directors. Last year, this award was made to NCSA, and it was really in direct support of the NSCI effort by evaluating and disseminating effective practices in partnerships between HPC centers and industry. And so you can see the goals here, really to do surveys, in-depth surveys, nationally, internationally, looking at a range of models using small, medium, and large centers, and produce a quantitative, qualitative research report that could really serve as a reference guide and a compendium of practices and lessons. And again, this is for broad use, so it's not intended to inform just NSF, it's really intended to inform both industry, academia, and government. And then to evaluate practices identified in the survey, and especially to highlight those with implications that are more universal. So essentially the cross-cutting. So actually, I'll go back. So that's the context, and you'll see the content of this study, the preliminary findings coming up. And again, we hope this is just a baseline and a starting, and we thank NCSA and Hyperion for doing the work and beginning to share the results. So, that's it. I'm done. I could take, if there were any questions, although they probably want to see the data first, but if there are any questions, I could take them now. Great.
I've seen overlapping people concerned or working in like cloud computing, cloud analytics kinds of problems in this space.
Absolutely, we do. There is I mean, that's a very rich topic, and I'm probably not going to go down that, but we're seeing it in two different ways. So certainly, the role of cloud computing in this environment is important. I think we're also seeing mixed environments, heterogeneous environments, and I actually think, at least from the academic, the notion of federated cloud, and we're also seeing the capabilities of the cloud coming into the HPC. So notions of containers and virtualization are, in Jetstream, for example, it's a private cloud that we deployed, actually, University of Indiana and University of Texas at Austin deployed in 2016. So we're at the leading edge of that, but I definitely see that in the mix. We're also seeing bursting of capabilities across campuses and into the cloud. So yeah, that it's definitely in this mix. The other thing I would say that's really important is certainly that notion is present in how we're looking at scientific applications in the future. So using a more service-oriented architecture in the frameworks for science. So I hope that answers it. Anyway, thanks.